Today I want to talk about putting it all together. There are so many tools that are available for us to use as teachers, as professionals, even in our personal lives. It can be really overwhelming to sort through it all. So this presentation is meant to give you a taste of several different big ideas of technology to use in a classroom so that you can hopefully pick out some that you want to learn more about and start to embrace to use in your daily life. Now, some of the ideas I'm going to talk about, you may have heard about it before, you may even already have one, but my encouragement then would be to take it further. Could you do more with a website if you already have one? This is also meant to be an overview of several different technologies. This is not a how-to, and if your brain hurts by the end of it, that's okay, because I want you to have a sense of here's all the different things people can do. Which one or which couple am I interested in learning more about? And that would be a great resource of things to look at and explore during our work time for the last few sessions. So let's get started with websites. I think having a website is so important for any teacher. It doesn't matter what your teaching position is in the school, even if you're interventionist or something like that. I think it's so important for you to have your presence on the school website in some capacity. The one thing that I want to talk about is in the top right corner here, static versus dynamic. We are in the age of school shoppers. Our families get on our school websites and our classroom websites, and they're checking out our schools to determine if they want to bring their schools of choice kids to our schools. I think it's important that we all have a good face up there so that when they are looking for something, if they find something that they find appealing, it's going to draw them into your school more. So I think it's all of our responsibility to maintain the good face of our school by keeping a web page. Now I say static versus dynamic because static is meant to be a page that you put up. You maybe check it once a year. It has some basic information about you, some outlines of your classes, maybe a few photos. That's a static page. It stays the same all year. But a dynamic page changes throughout the year, so that every time or every so often there would be some different content that people would look at if they came to your site again a couple months later or even a week later. So the other things that you see on the slide here are some of the other options to include in a website. Class information is kind of goes without saying because there should be something about what you do in your classroom. You know, I have a unique teaching situation in doing a K-1 multi-age with a partner teacher, so I feel like it's important that I explain the whole teaching situation there. But even if you're a standard first grade teacher or fifth grade teacher or high school language arts teacher, put up what you do and a little bit about what you believe about it. You know, what makes you stand out? What are you passionate about? It draws people in to you, and it's a good thing to do. Also, I think it's important to have news. Whether you send home a weekly or a monthly newsletter, post that online. I even use an automatic news feed service so that I don't post newsletters every so often. I just post up something when it's relevant, such as, we have a 2-hour delay today. Everybody gets the text message right away. So I have that news feeder called Posterous, and it takes care of all the news on the website. So every time they come to the website, even though I haven't come to change anything, it gets automatically updated because of the feeder that I'm using. We also embed a calendar. I think that's important because that's something you can even set up at the beginning of the year. It has the school calendar days, and it's set for the year. I also put my snack days on it, or holiday parties and things like that. They can always go on and see what the latest thing is. It kind of eliminates those phone calls to the office about what time is the Halloween party and things like that. We also choose to include our lesson plans on the web page. Sometimes we are a little more thorough about having those filled out than others, but in general we have them filled out, and you can click on Our Day and it posts what we have going on. We use a site called planbookedu.com, and you go to the site, you automatically change your plans every week, and without going to your website, it's automatically updated. You can also search the standards and tie those in. It's a really fantastic way for you to do your planning and search for your standards and make sure that you're keeping yourself accountable for all of that. But there's another one too that people use called planbook.com. I'm finding that middle school, high school teachers are really liking that one a lot better. But for the early elementary, I like the layout of the planbookedu.com. So if you're interested in having online lesson plans, check those out. My partner and I actually share one lesson plan book, and it's been working out really good all year. So we like that, and we like the fact that it's very transparent. It's always on the webpage, and I think that's a good thing to do. Also, having photos and fun stuff. You can see the photo here of one of our students. That's actually a slideshow that it plays. Little puzzle pieces come up, and at the beginning of the year, we make that slideshow and post it on the webpage, and then put it up every day as they're coming in. And so then they're trying to guess whose picture is coming next, and as the puzzle pieces put themselves together. So just engaging ways, and it's visually appealing. There's a lot of information there. It changes throughout the year. You can even see in the bottom left corner we have our Twitter feed. So anytime we tweet news out, which is in with our Posterous feed, it's I don't know, it just feels very hip and modern that all of those things are there and that it's all accessible. How much does everybody use it? As much as they need to. But the more I put there, the more reason they have to come. And that's my feeling. When people say to me, like, oh, I don't think they'll ever use it. Well, they won't use it if it's not there to use. So I encourage everybody to have at least some of these features in a site that's maintained by you throughout the year. Let's talk for a minute about the newsletters. I had mentioned that I don't do a newsletter anymore. I couldn't manage the sticky notes. I had sticky notes of what I wanted to put in the next newsletter all over, and I could never remember them by the time that I actually typed the newsletter. And for my disorganized mind, it's much better for me to just say it when I think it. So I can sit down at my computer, I can go tip, tip, tap, 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 and send, and everybody gets an email or a text message if they're signed up for that with the current information. And I don't have to remember where I put that sticky note that says remember to talk about the book orders on the next newsletter. So I'm happy with the setup that I'm using now, but you really could do what I'm doing by using just Edmodo, which you're becoming familiar with by being in this class. We use Edmodo to be our communication. We can send out messages to you. You can send messages to us. You can go up to the alerts and you can change when you get emails for things and when you get text messages for things. It could be really useful as a parent communication tool as well. And not to mention the fact that it includes quizzes and all that kind of thing right in the Edmodo site itself. So you don't even have to add extra things. You could use this as your students' blogging service. This really has the potential to be an all-in-one place for your students and you. Not to mention you can use it professionally as a teacher with our group, but you could use it as a teacher with your students and have them have accounts. So, what else can we talk about? How about QR codes? Okay. QR codes are these little black boxes that you see on almost every product packaging now. And they're very useful because you can post text related to that code, or you can post a video related to that code, or it can take somebody straight to a web page. And what I've done a few times is record a little video using my document camera. By the way, if you have a document camera, you have a fantastic way to make how-to videos right on your computer. So I use my document camera's recording feature to make a little video, post it to YouTube, and turn the YouTube video into this little black white box code, give all the kids the sticker with that code on it and say, here's the video to help you with your homework tonight when you get home if you want to watch it. And so they can do that at home, and it works out really well. We have a second and third grade teacher at our science fair this year is putting QR codes of videos of all the students defending their science fair projects on their projects. So if anyone browsing the projects wants to read the students' defense of their science project, they can just grab their smartphone, scan it, and they can watch the video of the students explaining themselves about their project. Just think it's a really cool way to make it very interactive. So I also want to talk about the shared thinking station that most of us have available to us in our classroom. It doesn't matter if it's a smartboard, a smartboard, a Mimeo, a BrightLink, whatever setup you have, you have a lot of power in that little station right there. If you have some sort of interactivity, even if it's the child going over to move the mouse on the computer because you don't have an interactive whiteboard, getting up to use the mouse on the computer can be just as effective. There's a lot that we can do with just this station. An interactive whiteboard is a focal point, or even a projector on a whiteboard is a focal point. It can draw everyone's attention up to what you want to present to make them think. What is Common Core all about? It's about getting kids to think deeper. This is one of the best tools that you can have, and I think many of us are underusing them. You can have stuff posted and that create a lot of conversation. You can put up very basic interactive counting charts. You can touch the hundreds grid and it turns over, and everybody understands the hundreds grid better from doing that activity. But you can also use it as a question and answer kind of discussion. What can we find out about the hundreds grid from putting this up here today? What do you notice? And let the kid who has come up with something to say come up to the board, show it visually and hands-on to everyone else, and get the teacher away from the smartboard. I think that is so hard for us as teachers to really just back off. And sometimes I have made myself just go sit down with the kids just to keep myself from touching the board, because it's a little bit faster if I just do it. But the more we step back and the more power we put in their hands, the more effective this is going to be. And if you have a document camera, I highly encourage sharing your writing on it. Probably most of you have already done that naturally, but if you have kids for a writer's workshop and they've got something to share, just having it up on the document camera for everybody to see and then talk about is way more powerful than ever I could get out of having somebody sit in a chair and tell us all about it. So thinking. Teachers, hands off of the smartboard. All right, let's talk about what we do outside of education, because outside of our daily workday. Are you ever really done being a teacher? There's evenings where even if I'm cleaning my house or getting my car washed or doing any of those mundane things that you do every day, ideas pop in your head for school all the time. And it really can consume you if you don't kind of keep it under wraps. So here are some sites that can help you be innovative and creative and make the use of what other people have made and not be recreating the wheel yourself all the time. So let's take a look at Pinterest, for example. If you haven't been on Pinterest, it has been called the black hole of time, and you've probably heard lots of stories from all your friends about how much time they spend on it. And I'm actually on a self-imposed Pinterest ban on my own for a little while here, because I found out I had 759 pins on my math board, and I hadn't used a whole lot of them. So I'm not looking for new pins right now. I'm looking to use the pins I've already got. But anyway, you can look online. Just go to Pinterest.com and you sign up for an account, and you can start seeing everybody's pins, and then you can save them to your own boards and have them all organized by subject area or interest level or class. And as you find these ideas, you just pin them and save them. And it's way easier than bookmarking on your computer or anything like that. And I find the number of ideas I've been able to save has been astronomical. Another way you can find ideas and not have to start from scratch is to visit Smart Exchange or Promethean Planet. Those are the sharing sites for people that have the software to run smart boards or Promethean boards. Sign up for an account, view the things, and start from there. I may take this example of a slide here is fraction math. You could take the examples of the fraction math, download it to your computer, look at all of the slides that somebody created, tweak it, change it, delete a couple slides, add a couple more descriptions, change it into a interactive activity. Come to Smart Exchange to get started with your lessons, because I guarantee somebody has started something, and you'll be a lot better off for having used some of their ideas. I think there's power in using more than one person's idea. Because, anyway, teacherspayteachers.com is another really good place to get resources. There are free resources. Many of them are paid for as well. I buy and I sell on Teachers Pay Teachers because I've got some things that I've made up for our grade level and for my own classroom. I post them online for $1 a piece, and people buy it, and that gives me a percentage every time, and I find that I sell enough to pay for what I buy, so that's pretty cool. So you just upload things that you want if you want to buy or if you want to sell. But if you just want to buy, you can just start purchasing by typing in the search box, first grade math activities, and you're going to come up with some fabulous things. I mean, you've probably heard the stories of teachers making $1 million on here and stuff like that. Well, those people are spending lots of hours making really great units and selling them for $8-10 a pop and getting really popular. I make 60 cents here, $1.50 there, or something like that. But the units that are on here are also really great starting points for us. And I have found just pieces of Common Core math assessments to include in my grade level instruction and in our grade level assessments. So we didn't have to write the whole assessment. We started from here to see if anybody had something that they got started with that we could just go from there. So definitely take some time to explore the site, and they even now recently added multiple user purchases. So if you buy it and you want to share it with somebody else, you can buy it for $3 and then buy an extra one for your friend for $1.50. So half off for the extra person. So that's kind of nice too. Also, if you aren't already on Twitter and you're kind of interested in it, talk to one of us, because we can get you signed up for an account and help you follow some interesting people. You can follow us. I go through phases. Usually I post the most on Twitter when I'm at a conference, because that's when I get excited about things, and also it helps me save what I saw at the conference. Google Reader is a way to follow blogs, such as maybe Two Writing Teachers or the 21st Century Teacher blog. There are a lot of blogs that you can follow, and then if you use Google Reader, it kind of aggregates them all to one place, and you can read them at one place instead of going to all those different places. In fact, I use my Google Reader on my iPad with an app called Flipboard, and I'll take you to a picture here. This is a picture of what Flipboard looks like. You can see it has my Facebook, my Twitter, my Google Reader. I've got Oprah inside Flipboard. But mainly the three that are customized to me are the Facebook, Twitter, and Google Reader. And then what it does is it turns those into like a magazine feel. So here I'm reading my Facebook page, and it looks like this little magazine. And it does the same thing to my Google Reader. It takes those 25 blogs that I follow, turns it into a little magazine. You can tap on what you want to read more about, close it when you're done, and just flip through. This is a really good way to spend 15 minutes waiting at the doctor's office. So anyway, continuing to put it all together. When you think about Common Core, as I said earlier, it's really all about getting kids to think deeper. And here are some ways that you can use technology to help with that. One is class blogs. Having a blog service lets your kids be creative and expressive and also collaborative. And I want to show you some examples that I've used. I'm going to bop ahead a couple here. Here's an example of one day my dog took off on me. Then I told my mom, he took off again. And Gabe has responded here, did your dog jump on you? And Hayden has responded, I have a dog too, isn't it cool? Now these are first graders. And sometimes we would just let them type into the box. Sometimes I'd let them do a really cool project on the computer and then take a screen capture of it, which is basically just taking a picture of your screen. And then I taught them how to save that and post it up. And then they might have to tell a little bit about it. So here I let them use Smart Notebook to make a number from the hundreds, tens, and ones, and then post on it. And so this could be a mini assessment for me on how many friends understood the concept of hundreds, tens, and ones. Here's one that they did after they did their jelly bean graphing that we do around Easter time. Everybody got their jelly beans, everybody made their graphs. Then they had to go in and they had to type in the colors and type in the numbers in a program that we have, and then just take a screen capture of it. Then they can compare all their graphs and everything. Now what I've noticed about doing blogging with friends in school is that I think the greatest value is in the projects that they can share with each other. Like, I wouldn't let them print this jelly bean graph because I don't want to use all that color ink. But I sure will let them post it online for everybody else to see. And it's just a lot cheaper than all that ink. But their favorite thing is right here at the bottom of the screen. Sharing. And then commenting back and forth to each other. They think they are the coolest thing when somebody has commented back on their blog. And when I interviewed kids about this at the end of the year, the first year that I did it, the part they really liked over and over was the fact that they get to comment back and forth to each other. So I highly recommend considering using blogs with as young as kindergarten, first grade. I even had an idea that you could create a class posterous where you give everybody the rights from an email address to post ideas, and then you could have just one web page where anybody from your class can post their work, and then it's live in public as well. So just another idea I had. And as there's more and more tablets available, and I'm not just talking iPads here, there are a lot of things that we can do with the iPads that aren't just practice. Now don't get me wrong, there are some fabulous practice apps, and I could list off 5 in no time of my favorite practice apps that my students are doing during math centers and literacy centers and things like that. But the real power in having these technologies is in the apps that do more with what they are thinking. Storytelling apps, making little video apps, taking a picture and then annotating the picture apps, doing a little screencast app, showing what they know in creative ways. And I've had my iPads in my classroom long enough to know that they need way less instruction to do this on a tablet than they ever needed to do those blogs on the computer. And it's pretty amazing how much they've been able to figure out. In fact, if you go in your iTunes and you go to iTunes U and you search for my name, just search for Jessica Stuffel, you'll come up with a series of iPad creation apps, directions and tips and tricks that I had created to share on iTunes U. So check those out if you're looking for a way to get kids doing deeper thinking with apps. Okay. And I can't help but let you know a few of my favorites. For calendar time, you can see in the first photo on the left here, I've got a friend that is showing the calendar on the app. You're probably familiar with K12. We do calendar every day to count how many days of school there are and learn yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the days of the week and all that. Well, typically we use a pattern to tell about the month. So, star, square, something like that. Well, typically they would just be on the wall, and only the teacher or whatever volunteer was putting up the piece for that day would be touching and interacting with the pattern. Everybody else would say it, but only one person would be interacting with it. By putting it on the iPads, everybody interacts with it as well. And so I've really liked that. So we use an app called New Annotate for them to draw on the calendar like that. For Writing Center, I really like the idea of the iDiary app. And it's kind of a blogging type app because they can write, they can take pictures, they can draw all over it. And it matches what my goals are for them at a Writing Center. You can use an app called Bluefire for having students record themselves reading and then play it back for themselves so they can hear what they sound like. There's also different publishing apps, which you'll see in my iTunes U series. StoryKit, Sonic Picks, those are 2 of my favorites. And then my favorite math and reading practice app this year is now ScoopPad. I found that my students are very motivated by the earning coins, by getting questions right and things like that. So, I'm not against using the practice apps when they're appropriate, but I do think that the majority of our time should be spent using iPads for creative ways of doing things that we couldn't do anymore. So that's a lot. That's a lot of ideas for you. I hope that you'll find some of them helpful, that maybe you want to try out a few of them. So talk to one of us about what you're thinking, and we can help you get signed up for accounts. We can explain to you more about how something works. We can help you with the logistics of it. Spend some time thinking about it for your free time here, but also in long-term plan. Like, well, today I'd like to get started with, adding a few things to my website, but long-term I'd really like to shoot for blogging. Have some short-term things you want to know about, but think about some long-term things too. Where are you headed? I hope this helps you find a direction.